Hello, welcome back to Mind of Crime. So apologies for there being a very long gap in between my last recording and this recording. I've had life happening to me. I've started a new job and I've, had to. Obviously, the job pays the bills. As you can see, this is a small channel. I'm not monetized, so I'm not making any money from this. And I just obviously want to do this because I want to do this. So it's important that I concentrated on trying to settle into that, in my life, and then sort of get back to this. So hopefully you'll see things going back to being more regular, as they say. So we are carrying on with You with the Sad Eyes. I don't think it's going to be too long now. I think we're on part 7. This is part 7. So we can, yes, my mic's on. I was just checking my mic was on. I don't think there's too much left. So we shall continue. Right. After the real end, through the years, he would send me mixtapes of music, things he'd painted from memory, even champagne bottle corks from bottles we had drunk together. It felt like he was always trying to get at me, to remind me he was still around. So we'd been talking about this really horrible relationship she'd been in the previous episode. So we're carrying on from that. In early 1993, a young actor right out of the college by the name of David Boreanaz made his first credited appearance on TV in Married with Children. He played Kelly's love interest on an episode called Movie Show. I met him first thing that work week. David and I quickly became friends. He was funny and kind, and we would pass our lunch times together. When on Thursday of that week, yet again something happened with my boyfriend, I called David, even though I'd known him for only 4 days. I can't be alone in my house, I said, and David showed up at the log cabin to keep me company. David made me feel safe in my house, and a few days later, he and I started a thing. We dated for a few months, and even though it didn't last, he helped me eventually leave. I adore David for that. Thinking back, I can't say enough how much I appreciated him for being the reason I was finally able to get back to normal. After my time with David ended, I went from relationship to relationship, as if being with someone was insurance against going back to that terrible boyfriend. With enough time apart, I felt his hold on me wane until finally it was done. I haven't heard from him in decades. With him finally gone from my life for good, I sold the log cabin. I couldn't deal with the memories of being there anymore. The place was filled with his ghost and what he did to me. The lighter thrown, the blood spilled, the tequila forced down my throat, the nights he'd disappear into his film studio, which he'd set up in our guest house, and stay there till 5 a.m, leaving me alone and wondering who this man in my house really was. Living there became too painful. The vibes were wrong. The slip and slide gang had mostly moved on, but the wisteria still bloomed and does to this day, its roots so strong, its blossoms so beautiful, a reminder and a symbol of my resilience. But the entire property also felt small and claustrophobic, and the 80 steps from the street felt like 800 some days. So on the back of the success of Married with Children and movies I'd made, I bought myself a house further up on Lookout Mountain. Secluded and beautiful. It has a gate and security and a koi pond, and when you look out, all you can see are trees. I still live in that house with my daughter and my chimes, my fireplace and my Naga Champa. And with these memories swirling around my bed at night, ghostly and perverse, and I'm wondering where everyone is, wondering what I did wrong, what I did to deserve what happened to me. I don't know if this experience gave me strength. I only know that in the subsequent years I found a calmness and a serenity. Perhaps I would have gotten there eventually, regardless of whether this had happened to me. I don't know if I can say that there was a big lesson from it all, except that it happened, and perhaps by sharing it, someone else might be able to escape more quickly than I did. Or else, perhaps, that might be able to listen more closely to the voice that tells them when something is terribly wrong. I certainly learned to listen to my heart, to my gut, and ever since I haven't been controlled by anything or anyone. I'm way too important. My opinions matter. I am stronger, resilient like that wisteria. What I went through brought me knowledge, a knowledge born out of being angry and scared. In the years after all of this, I found my footing, but I had to be constantly vigilant about how it screwed me up when it came to relationships. I wasn't looking for just any man, not looking for a father figure. I was looking for an equal. Before I would attract guys who I could control or controlled me. But I was forever trying to please these men who seemed so unsettled in themselves. I also learned not to sell myself short. I learned to have some respect for myself. If men I dated didn't see that, then they were the ones who needed a new perspective, not me. Finally, I could see. I haven't seen that boyfriend since. It was as if a ghost, an Amityville horror, washed up at the door of my beautiful cabin, a house that's long since been demolished and replaced with a monstrosity. Its new owners unaware, I imagine, that once not so long ago, a bunch of dickheads parted their arses off in it all in the zestful stupidity of a long-gone youth. Chapter 8. Hawaii. I've lost count of how many times my mother said to me, "It's you and me against the world." That puts a lot of pressure on a child and has probably loaned me a certain level of codependency. But more importantly, it has helped me develop the right safeguards against manipulation in this challenging business. It's a toughness that I want to teach my daughter, but I want all young women, especially in show business or any business, to also know that they need you more than you need them. My mom would say it to me when I'd go to auditions, and I still know it to be true. They need me more than I need them. As Married with Children came to its natural conclusion, I found myself desperate to leave Kelly Bundy behind. I couldn't wait to take off the mask and to be myself. I wanted to show the world and myself what I was capable of. For the last 2 years of Married, I was wearing a wig because I'd cut my hair short and dyed it a mix of black, cherry and purple. I showed up with my new hairdo at a Fox event right before we were about to start filming the penultimate season. "What's happening here?" someone said, a look of shock and horror on their face. "We're getting a wig," I said. I'd had blonde hair down to my butt for more or less a decade, but now I didn't care. There wasn't much else that could say, because it wasn't as if I could suddenly grow my hair 10 inches. They needed me more than I needed them. It was me against the world, kid. I'm grateful for Married. Grateful for the time I spent there. Grateful for the lessons I learned. Grateful for the family I had in Ed and Katie and David. But if I didn't get that girl away from me, I didn't know what I would do. I needed to be me, but that doesn't mean I made great decisions. Right after Married ended, a script came across my desk for a little movie called Legally Blonde. I didn't even audition or read for it or meet with anyone. I was done with the ditzy blonde thing. And to think, I could have had Reese Witherspoon money. Instead, I needed to escape. It had all began with David Faustino, my brother on Married. He had taken a vacation to Hawaii and returned with stars in his eyes. The way he described it made it sound both magical and 1,000,000 miles away. Both things I desperately needed. The friends David had made there, guys with names like Lawrence and Joji and Shaney Boy, sometimes flew to LA to visit him, and he would introduce me to them. I instantly fell in love with them, as he had. They had my heart and the hearts of so many on Maui, and while we all partied and danced, I was amused to see a woman walk past my LA boyfriend and playfully pinch his butt. I was laughing, and my girlfriend, a beautiful 19-year-old Samoan woman, asked me what I found funny. "Oh, nothing," I said, pointing vaguely at the dance floor. "It's just that chick over there. She's just pinched my boyfriend's butt." Big mistake on my part. Without a word, my friend strode over to where the pincher was standing and hauled off and punched her right in the face. Next thing I knew, we were all in the parking lot, and this whole damn kerfuffle was ablaze. Dust rising, fists flying, hair pulling, the whole 9 yards. At one point there was a break in the action, and my friend came over to me. I must have looked completely horrified. "What's wrong?" she said, out of breath. "Honey," I said, "small problem. That wasn't her. Wrong chick. You literally punched the wrong person." After a comic pause, during which we both realised the ridiculous stupidity of what just happened, and thankfully no one got seriously hurt, we burst out in hysterical laughter and ran to my car as fast as we could get the hell out of there. We've talked about that story a lot in the intervening years. My friend is older now. I hate how time does that, and she doesn't love that story as much these days. She's matured and doesn't live in that world anymore. And that boyfriend with the pinched arse didn't last, of course. But hey, to quote my mother, I never met a junkie I didn't like. As much as I wanted it not to, real life still had a way of asserting itself on Maui. Just need to skip. There's some lovely photos in this book, by the way, so if you do get a chance to have a look at the photos, they're worth looking at. So, April the 18th, 1995, Maui. So this is from her diaries. "It's funny that the only time I feel inspired to write is when I am here. The only time I can reflect. My mom has cancer. She was diagnosed about 5 months ago. It's only temporary, I know that. I have to. She's going through chemotherapy now, and it has been so hard on her and me. But there is such a great lesson to be learned about life. Just how important it is to be happy. It sure isn't easy to acquire, I know that. I'm so disillusioned as to what it really is, though. I think it might be the sense of now. As simple as that may seem, now isn't so bad as long as you are truly in it. Life is a gift. It's unfortunate that we all take life so for granted." My mom had breast cancer back in 1980, but this time, 15 years later, it was ovarian. I was pissed off that she had cancer a second time. Your mother's not supposed to have cancer. She's not supposed to not be able to take care of you. I resented it in a way. I couldn't take it. I hated every second of it. She faced 2 years of chemo and 10 surgeries, one of which removed half of her intestines. She lost all of her hair and became so fragile, immunocompromised and sick. It was scary as fuck. I couldn't bear to see her like that. It crushes me that my own child is going through this now in her own way. But my mum also saved a lot of women when she went through ovarian cancer. Because initially the doctors couldn't find the cancer in her ovaries, even though it was genetically marked to be ovarian cancer. In recent years, researchers have discovered that ovarian cancer can start in the fallopian tubes. And I understand that my mum's case was one that spurred on the research. For many women, by the time cancer is found in the ovaries, it's too late. These days, women also have their fallopian tubes removed when they have a hysterectomy, eliminating the danger of cancer in the fallopian tubes remaining undetected. My mum survived, but it was a dark time for both of us. I found myself struggling with dangerous thoughts even on my island oasis. At least I had Hawaii. Despite these spells of intense darkness, I was a happier, different person there, more myself than anywhere else. I was nobody famous. I was nobody. I wasn't only the survivor of my childhood. I wasn't only the woman who faced down a terrible boyfriend and found her freedom. I wasn't Kelly Bundy. I didn't even have to be Christina Applegate. I was a new person. Through my healing on those islands, a new person emerged. She surprised even me. These days, very little of Front Street on Maui survives. Gone in the terrible fires of 2023. Every time I think of it, my heart hurts. Many of my friends lost their homes. Many are still displaced. This is made especially poignant as in recent months, my hometown of Los Angeles has suffered catastrophic fires of its own. We evacuated during the worst of the winter fires of 2025 from an abundance of caution, but so many friends lost their homes here, all their possessions, their histories. My grief for Maui has only deepened in the past months, having faced similar losses here at home and seeing firsthand what people in Hawaii had to go through. And my heart hurts for that time I spent in Hawaii, for other reasons too. After the terrible years with that abusive guy, I yearned for sanctuary, a place I could escape to, a place to heal. I'm lucky I found it, out there at the very ends of the Pacific Ocean, the shooting stars jangling at the very edge of my sad eyes, somewhere out of sight. Chapter number 9, Filthy McNasty. I hated the limelight, and everywhere in West Hollywood was bathed in it. Then came the Viper Room. I am here to tell you that the Viper Room was the coolest club that ever existed. It was an otherwise squat and forgettable building at 8852 Sunset, right by Larrabee Street, built in the early 1920s. Originally, it was a nondescript grocery store, though it would go on to have multiple famous iterations across the decades. At one time, it was a nightclub and then a bar called the Melody Lounge, which was something of a wise guy hangout. Eventually, it became a club, owned by and named for a legendary Angelino known to everyone as Filthy McNasty. Filthy McNasty was from Berlin, and his real name was the much less fun Wilfried Barcht. You can see why he was happier to go by the new name. Filthy McNasty set the tone for what was to come. Famous people, everyone from Evel Knievel to John Wayne, loved the place because photographers were not welcome. In a city where paparazzi are as plentiful as fire hydrants, folks just wanted somewhere safe to hang out, away from the prying lenses, especially in the days when celebrities cherished their privacy. They also knew they had to maintain it so that when they did finally emerge, their presence would be something to talk about and might put bums in the altar seats and movie halls. Nowadays, every famous person has an Instagram account where they share their most intimate moments the second they happened. But in an earlier time, it was imperative to keep a mystery about oneself. Hence the advantage of a place like Filthy McNasty's had in turning away the fame vampires. In the 80s, Filthy McNasty's morphed into the Central, a jazz club that attracted performances by a young Ricky Lee Jones, as well as her musician friend Chuck E. Weiss. Ricky could write about a conversation with the third member of that famous trio of musicians, Tom Waits, in her hit Chuck E's in Love. Chuck E. eventually persuaded Johnny Depp and others to buy the Central and turn it into the Viper Room. The owners were quick to re-establish the emphasis on privacy. They created a kind of speakeasy, an exclusive, secret handshake sort of hangout that felt personal and familial, an escape from the crazy scene that dogged us everywhere we went in 90s Los Angeles. Johnny also made sure that Chucky could still play there. This was a big deal because Chucky Weiss wasn't to everyone's taste. He sometimes thrummed a washboard and told long tales in between his blues songs, accompanied as he usually was by his band, the Goddamn Liars. But I loved Chucky, and he played at my 22nd birthday party. I'd been at the Viper Room's opening night back when I was 21, and by that 22nd birthday, the Viper Room had become my home away from home. It attracted all the coolest people, cats you just wanted to be around. And it wasn't just celebrities. It was all manner of weirdos. Us weirdos, as we put it. Everyone was treated the same on the inside. No special treatment for being famous or known. Everyone was a character in their own way, like those 4 guys called the Millionaires Club, who were never seen in public, unless they were dressed in 3-piece suits. Shannon and Carolyn and Tommy ran the Viper Room back then. They were the bartenders and managers. But really they were in its beating heart. Sometimes when Shannon was overwhelmed, she would make me help her at the bar. Then there was Sean G, who ran the front desk. These were my people. The Viper Room was a list place. You couldn't get in unless you were on it. But not for me. For me it was a home. I was there almost every night. Everyone felt like family, even the bouncers like Big Ed, who was 6'5" and could crush you if he wanted to, but who is also the sweetest man alive. I felt safe because Johnny had a standing policy of no assholes in the Viper Room. He wanted to create a place he could relax and hang out, and I felt the same way. It was the club where I could go and have drinks with a bunch of effed up fuckers who didn't care who I was, and I didn't care who they were, as long as they were interesting and unfazed by fame. Most nights, there weren't even paparazzi outside. Everything, both inside and outside the Viper Room, was painted black. The air was always thick with cigarette smoke because Johnny would never have a place that you couldn't smoke inside. He once said, I wish I could graft another mouth on my cheek so that I could smoke more. There was a bar and booths, and my favourite spot, a secret room with one long bench opposite a wall that consisted of a one-way mirror. So you could sit in there on a bench and watch the whole club. It was a quieter spot where you could go and be alone, where you could corral your thoughts and take a breather. You could barely even hear the music. Carolyn or Farrell or another friend and I would sit on the bench. Johnny instilled a cherished level of privacy for anyone, not just celebrities. The first rule of Fight Club, etc., etc. It was our safe haven, a private place, and that's how it will remain. Sometime in 1995, I joined a show at the House of Blues called the Choreographers Ball. All the choreographers in Los Angeles and beyond would put on a huge, beautiful dance production. It brought a real dance culture to Los Angeles, which at that time was not a thing. I remember performing, which at that time was not a thing. I remember performing to Black Coffee and a Prince song called How Come You Don't Call Me Anymore. It was a wonderful chance for me to express myself through dance, something I'd done all my life, but not always to an audience. Through friends, I ended up meeting Robin Antin, a dancer and choreographer. We hit it off. She even moved into my house for a while, and out of that friendship came the Pussycat Dolls. Robin had been toying with creating a mixture of Bob Fosse, the Rocky Horror Picture Show, and a burlesque with some fake striptease thrown in for good measure. But mostly it was Fosse, Fosse, Fosse. Initially there were no singers, and we didn't even have a name. We danced to anything from Eartha Kitt to the music from Kiss Me Kate and Sweet Charity. I described it back then as a cross between Anne Margaret and James Bond girls. We would head to the dance studio I'd built in my house and work out the choreography. The Pussycat Dolls weren't taking any clothes off, but we were giving the illusion that we were taking something off. Layers upon layers, leading to more layers. It was suggestive in all the right ways. To me, dance wasn't sexual. It was a spiritual expression of pain and glory and all the things in between. It was a church, and I certainly never thought of myself as sexy. In my early 20s, we'd all go to Flaming Colossus, a club on Bonnie Brae near MacArthur Park in a seedy corner of downtown Los Angeles. My drink of choice those nights was Southern Comfort because that was Janis Joplin's drink, and I was obsessed with her and still am. One night some guy said to a friend of mine, "God, Christina is the unsexiest person I've ever met." Why my friend thought she could pass this on, I'll never know. But once again, a random comment from somebody I should have been able to ignore played directly into my insecurities. I was on the cover of People's 100 Most Beautiful Ones, and I remember coming across a comment that said I wasn't beautiful. I was just chosen because I'd had cancer. Those feelings ran deep into my relationships and into the bedroom. No, not one time have I looked in a mirror, even all done up, and thought, "Oh, I look good." Not once. Never, swear on my life, from the first day I could think until writing this sentence. Sure, I've seen okay pictures, but I've always put it down to the hairpiece or the lashes or the lighting or the airbrushing. It's never me. Over the years I have scrawled multiple phrases in lipstick on my bathroom mirrors, so I don't have to look at myself. I read the words instead. If I fail and catch a glimpse, I feel sick. I've lived my whole life on screen, but if I ever catch the shows or movies on TV, my familiar internal monologue of fat, ugly, old pushes its way in. But dance takes me out of my head and into my body. It's about being me. Eventually, my friend Shannon, the manager at the Viper Room, thought that the Pussycat Dolls would be a perfect fit for her Thursday speakeasy night. Thursdays at the Viper already had a fun Prohibition era feel. DJ Dean R. Miller had been playing early 20th century music every Thursday for months, and folks would dress in fedoras and suits. It was gangster, but in the original meaning of the word. Shannon told Johnny about the Dolls, and he invited us to audition for a Thursday night spot. While he smoked his smokes, we did our thing. I remember dancing to the Eartha Kitt track, My Discarded Men. The dolls were very old school Foss, making people think that they were seeing something risque when they were really seeing only the magic of dance. We had rhythmic gymnasts in our group and ballet dancers on point. There was one girl named Sia, who would do her entire performance on point while holding a cigarette, taking her leg up high above her shoulder. "This is so fucking cool," Johnny said when we were done. "This is why I opened this place. This is so Thursday." And that was it. He loved it. We were part of the Viper Room's Thursday night entertainment for the next decade. We quickly became a phenomenon. It got so big that we would feature guest stars like Gwen Stefani and Christina Aguilera. Back then we were still lip-syncing for fun, dancing to 1940s songs. So many women wanted to be part of it. It was empowering. They wanted to do new things, unexpected things. They wanted to feel something that they had never felt before without it being blatant or for someone else. And then the next thing we knew, we were at the legendary Roxy nightclub and we were selling out shows everywhere we went. That's when Jimmy Iovine told Robin that the Pussycat Dolls should really be a singing group, not just a dance group. And Robin, the businesswoman that she is, took the idea and ran with it. We'd gone from playing the Viper Room to the Roxy. If you can create a singing group that becomes number one on the charts, hell yeah, Robin, go for it. I'm proud of her, I really am. But I was also disappointed. The dancing had subtly changed. Suddenly there was a lot of but, if you get my drift. The line to see us would be around the corner. I remember saying to Robin during one Christmas performance, "There's a lot of booty touching going on." Things were off, but empires got to empire. Robin arrived places in a Bentley now. Good for her, but it wasn't what I'd originally been part of. But hey, man, we got, don't you wish your girlfriend was hot like me? This was never a sentiment I thought of for myself. But Nicole and a few of the OG dolls dominated. How cool is that? By my mid-20s, things were changing everywhere I looked. Being free and single and doing your own thing was one thing, but going to a club most nights was something that didn't entirely appeal anymore. Many of us left and never went back. My life altogether was way too complicated by my mid-20s for me to even think much about the Viper Room. I was all over the place, veering from dating to tending to my mother's health to God, all of things. As the 1990s continued, my diaries chart my growing relationships. As the 1990s continued, my diaries chart my growing relationship with spirituality and God. I discovered the Agape International Spiritual Centre, which had been founded in 1986 by Dr. Michael B. Beckwith, a charismatic and brilliant man. The centre is not traditionally Christian, in that it draws from multiple sources, multiple faiths, and often from the more esoteric, gnostic traditions, all in the service of how an individual may cultivate their own unique relationship with this ineffable presence and live in conscious connection with it. Agape resonated with me because my mom had always raised me to believe in an interconnectedness, an idea that God and I and God are one. This surrender I was feeling pushed me into a fresh perspective on my life, one I'd struggled to find in the past. For me to tell my diary that I loved myself, as I did in June 1996, was such a different song from the one I'd been singing for most of my life. But sometimes the gains I had made could ebb within a day. Such was the trauma I carried with me, and such is the struggle the faithful have when God seems absent. Back and forth I went, feeling filled with faith and then feeling lost to doubt. Yet the underlying sense from those years was that faith had stripped away the worst excesses of my self-hatred and had begun to give me a glimmer of self-esteem. Chapter 10, Red Wedding. In the early summer of 2001, I shot a movie with Cameron Diaz called The Sweetest Thing. Cameron and I clicked from the moment we met at auditions. I loved every day of working with her. It never even felt like work, and that movie was such an important source of joy in my life at the time. Just having a... During the movie, we take a road trip, and it was during these car scenes that we really bonded. When filming a car scene, the vehicle you're in is attached to what's called an insert car. Essentially a truck filled with cameras and sound guys that's towing your vehicle on a process trailer to give the illusion that you're driving. Everyone in the insert car can hear everything the actors say, even in between takes, because there's no efficient way to cut the sound off while cameras are reset and positions retaken. Cameron and I learned all the words to a song called Tales of Taboo, which we referred to as Belgian Waffles, because of a particularly foul lyric. The song was by a performance artist named Karen Finley. We were filming up in a sausage lito along a road that's used a lot for movie sets in San Francisco, and we'd have to go all the way down the road, turn around and come back. The whole process took forever, so in between takes, our favourite thing to do was play Tales of Taboo on the car stereo and sing along to it as loudly as possible, causing the crew to cringe half to death because it's the dirtiest song you've ever heard in your life. I urge all readers to listen to it immediately and do as Cameron and I did. Learn every word and sing it at high volume wherever possible. The wonderful Parker Posey was also in that movie, and when she heard us singing Tales of Taboo, she offered a song of her own. Fuck the Pain Anyway by Peaches. Sorry, F the Pain Away by Peaches. Sorry, Parker, I said, but compared to Belgian Waffles, F the Pain Away sounds like something from Blue's Clues. Again, there was this split personality between me on set and me at home. At work, I was having fun, screaming lyrics like "Make me a tit sandwich" with my new friend, playing one of two carefree party girls. At home, I was playing the role of a perfect bride-to-be. Eating obsessively clean and not drinking, planning the perfect wedding for the perfect polished life. No tit sandwich for me. That's my dog making the noises, by the way. It's having a bit of a scratch. Who wants to go to a wedding where no one is allowed to drink alcohol? I can't imagine there's a single person in the world who would choose to watch two people getting hitched while stone cold sober. But in October 2001, if you attended my first wedding, I was determined that you were going to be crystal clear mentally and physically for my vows. It had to be perfect because he was everything my family wanted for me. My future husband had more than £3.50 in his bank account and didn't rely on me monetarily. Handsome fella, he liked sports, so Dad was on board. It felt like the right next step after years of disappointment. He disappointed no one, except maybe me. If I went to a wedding now and they didn't serve alcohol, I'd leave. Thank you very much. I don't mind if you're no good at drinking and want to abstain while you make your vows, but it's also not my fault you are bad at it. I had become such a health freak, and I was dead set on everyone being spiritual and clear. So I banned drinking before the ceremony. I'm sure all my friends hated me, or they had hip flasks hidden in their pockets. I hope they did. I think my poor bridesmaids snuck a drink or two when they were getting ready. I picked a pretty house with a pool in Palm Springs as the venue outside the city. Jeffrey Best, the eminent event planner, helped create an experience that began well before the day. I made beautiful invitations, and when people accepted, they received a slim, leather-bound journal with a string wrapped around it that had all the available accommodations, the schedule of events, everything that you could need, and a notice that the wedding would be dry, of course. Leading up to the big event, I had been running every day, dancing every day. I'd quit drinking, was barely smoking cigarettes, nothing at all. Brackets, I would end up smoking a lot on the actual day. For the guests, I rented a truly beautiful hotel called the Korakia, a Tangier-inspired resort built originally in the 1920s by some random Scottish painter who wanted to be reminded of his time in Morocco. Hence the archways, courtyard, fountain and whitewashed walls. There were fire pits and pools, every room was different. And there were no TVs. Also no curtains. My soon-to-be father-in-law sought me out the one morning and said, "Christina, I really need curtains." When he walked away, I felt my entire body starting to convulse. I was a stressed-out, sober, cigarette-less bride. "Tell everyone to go F themselves," I said to my assistant at the time. "I can't get him curtains. I am the bride. Have him go talk to someone else about his fucking curtains." Suffice to say, I was a bit overwhelmed. All the man wanted was a dark room where you could get some rest. At the rehearsal dinner, we served vegan Mediterranean food, and we all sat on pillows on the floor. All the waiters were wearing sarongs. To repeat, the food was vegan. So basically there was just a lot of hummus. Thankfully, the rehearsal dinner was not a dry event like the actual day, though drinking on a stomach of hummus doesn't seem amazing either. Farts. I kept thinking, this is my wedding. This is not your wedding. This is my wedding. My perfect wedding. This is what I would want a wedding to be like. I'd hate all of that now. These days I'd insist on a TV and a drink and fuck sitting on the floor. I can barely get off my bed. The actual ceremony was choreographed within an inch of its life. The bride was not late. In fact, she was 10 minutes early. Yes, folks, I was a bride who was 10 fucking minutes early. I was also the bride who was pissed off at everybody else for being late. I was standing there with Dr. Michael Beckwith and a Catholic priest who were co-officiating. As people showed up late, I hissed, "You got to be fucking kidding me. I'm ready." No bride has ever said, "I'm ready," in sober frustration. We had written our own vows. Mine were comical and light-hearted, whereas his were mushy, gushy, lovey-dovey, and no one ever accused me of liking that. I smiled gamely. We had organised the whole thing using fake names, thereby avoiding the paparazzi. But still 2 people attended whom we didn't know. They were all dressed up and they even signed the guest book. Later, when I looked through it, I found a Polaroid picture they'd taken of themselves. "Who the fuck are these 2?" I said. After the ceremony, I threw a huge cocktail reception. The dinner was created by Neil Fraser, a very talented chef who's worked with Wolfgang Puck and Thomas Keller, and who just so happened to have attended the Wonderland School with me. He served healthy miso soup and a blackened cod with a miso glaze and a seaweed salad. I thought it was delicious. I'm so sorry, everyone. Never fear, I added directions to the nearest McDonald's at the bottom of the menu. I'm not a savage. Once dinner was over, a fantastic and hilarious disco cover band called the Boogie Nights played, replete with fake afros and real bell-bottoms. At one point, Stephen Stills got up and performed, but he played a little too long. I could sense that after the floor hummus rehearsal dinner, no drinking / no TVs, no curtains, miso soup, seaweed salad, of it all. Everyone just wanted to dance. So I hopped up on the stage. You want me off, don't you? 1/3 of Cosby, Stills and Nash said. I didn't need to say anything, but yes, I threw Stephen Stills off stage at my wedding. Don't hate me, people. We'd been really digging him, and he'd been on fire playing, but I had a band ready to go, and I couldn't keep them waiting forever. You can't really dance to Stephen. When people did finally leave, our parting gift to them was a double CD of every single song we'd played during the entire night. I had sat for days with my assistant going through what I wanted to play, from the second the guests walked in to the second they left. I can't believe myself. One of the reasons I'd insisted on a dry pre-ceremony is because I knew my friends all too well. I knew exactly what was going to happen. I just didn't want it to happen before my ceremony. Sure enough, on my wedding night, a bunch of people let loose, doing mushrooms and weird drugs and sleeping with other people's spouses. At 6 o'clock the morning after, I was lying in my marital bed, listening to the couple in the next room fighting because there was a woman in their bathtub with whom they'd had an intoxicated threesome. The whole wedding was a masterclass in anal perfectionism. But that wasn't the worst thing. The worst thing was the moment I walked around the corner and into the ceremony. One of my favourite songs was playing, and when I look hard at the face of my husband-to-be, I thought, oh, fuck. Oh, fuck. I have advice for women. If you go on a first date with a guy and you don't like his shoes, run. Shoes are a telltale sign of whether or not a relationship will last. For our first date, he had shown up in boots, but not even cowboy boots. I think they were supposed to look like a cowboy boot, but they'd missed the mark by a wide margin. No one should wear such things, but especially not if you live in Los Angeles, California. The whole time during that dinner, I remember thinking, those shoes are so bad. Bad shoes, bad shoes, bad shoes, bad shoes. But another voice said, you're doing it again. This is the right person for you. He's got his shit together. He's attractive. He has a career. We were just very different. I'm scrappy. I tell effed up jokes. I can be offensive and rough around the edges. He was none of these things. I never considered stopping the wedding. For a start, I was halfway down the aisle. I kept thinking, don't be that guy, don't be that guy, don't be that guy. You're sabotaging, you're sabotaging, you're sabotaging. Because there I was in my custom gown, the centre of this beautiful fucking wedding, filled with all the perfect that you could possibly imagine. And I knew right then that this man was not for me. After a year after I first met him, and a couple of years before we married, we'd gone on a trip to the coast to the Ventana Hotel in Big Sur. We were together in a place where I was happy, but I also found myself alone a lot, as he often attended classes at nearby Island Institute, just like Don Draper at the end of Mad Men. I stayed back by myself at Ventana on my hammock, writing a new journal with blank pages I'd hoped to fill with our happiness together. I was looking out on the Pacific Ocean, swinging in a hammock under perfect skies, and I was overcome with a feeling that I'd never had before. Not quite 27 years old, and this was the first time I could actually think, this is what happiness feels like? I'm staggered that it took me nearly 3 decades to experience a moment of actual freedom, bliss, happiness. I know that the tyranny of happiness and the search for it has warped our culture and made so many of us unhappy. Even so, To have spent all those years alienated from such a basic human need fills me now with sadness, a kind of root regret that is hard to shake. Superficially, I was a success, but as the Pacific breeze gently moved that hammock, this elusive happiness appeared on the air for one of the first times in my life. I wish I could have stayed in that place forever. There I was, designer gown, sober, filled with hummus and sorrow, realizing I was making a mistake. And by 2006, we were divorced, and happiness eluded me once more. That fleeting butterfly, the hint at the edge of my vision that, once I turned my sad eyes to see, vanished. So we'll leave it there. We've done, I think, about 3 chapters. I can't remember, 2 or 3 chapters. We're on chapter 11. So I'm just having a look at, I think we're on chapter 11, just if you're wondering how much this... Okay, so, and then that's the last chapter, I think, is chapter 18. So we can try and get through a couple of chapters a session. Hopefully I'm going to be a bit more around now. I've kind of done my looking for a job, as in moving from one job to the next, starting that, intense. There was quite intense couple of weeks, intense training course. I went down to London, intense. So hopefully I've been planning to try and do a little bit after work during the week. It's just, you know what it's like sometimes you finish work and you're just tired, but I really want to get this when I'm reading it. Obviously I really enjoy reading it, and I do think of all the people out there that then can just listen to it and enjoy that, and you know, it's something for somebody, isn't it? So please do like and subscribe, make a comment, share, and I say that because there's going to be other people out there that will want to see or hear this. I'm not monetized. I can't make any money from this. So it isn't about me making money. This is about thinking of other people that might want to hear it. So anyway, thanks very much, guys. And my plan is to do another one within the next few days. Okay? All right. So keep your alerts on, or keep your eye out for it, or however you do it. Okay, guys, take care. Thanks very much. Bye-bye.